What's it like to live and travel on a sailboat? I'm Chris. This is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, entertaining. This video, it's a live stream. If you're on the live stream, I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all for about the next hour. And, I don't live on a sailboat, but I thought for this video, by the magic of the internet, we could talk to a couple that does live on a sailboat. Chris and Marissa of Sailing Avocet. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi, guys. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
It's great to have you virtually. And so Chris and Marissa have been living on a sailboat for the past 3 years. They've got a goal of full-time cruising and traveling on that sailboat, and they're even coming to us right there from a very nautical-looking sailboat. And so my first question for you guys is, what made you decide to live on a sailboat?
That is a great question. So the idea kind of came organically. Chris comes from a sailing background. He comes from a family of sailors, although not all of them lived on their boats. They grew up sailing. And his older brother does live on a boat as well. And they're currently cruising around the world too. So it was our last year of college, and we were trying to decide what to do with our lives. We were engaged, getting ready for a wedding, trying to decide if we should get an apartment somewhere, get a house. And we thought, well, since we're not set on any location, why don't we get a boat? Let's try that lifestyle out. So we started searching for our boat.
Very cool. And so how did you go about picking out a boat? Like when you said, I want to buy a boat, what was that decision space and process?
So that's actually where Chris comes in. He was the boat expert. I was looking just for, what boat had the most amenities, which one was the most shiny, things like that. And then I learned a little bit more along the way, but...
Yeah, we looked for boats for, I'm not exaggerating, probably a full year, and even that is short when you talk to other sailors. So you can spend a long time online and in person going through as many boats as you can imagine. We had a very small budget, and obviously we just got out of college.
We were broke.
We were broke.
Yeah,
and
right.
So anyways, we had this budget for a boat that could give us a living situation, but not necessarily a go anywhere boat situation. So right off the bat, we were looking at boats that were called Catalina 36s, and they are, again, really great boats to live on. Coastal cruising, no problem at all, but not necessarily something that I'd feel comfortable crossing an ocean in. So we looked for a long time, actually drove from Tahoe all the way down to Los Angeles one day to check out a Catalina 36.
Which we thought at the time was our dream boat.
Yeah.
We had done all the research. We're like, this is the boat. So we got on one, and our dreams were shattered a little bit.
We just immediately kind of figured out it's like stepping into something that you know won't work for you. It didn't feel right. There wasn't enough room for us. And especially with a cat on board, we knew that we wanted something a little bit bigger. And with my background in sailing, I know what a boat should feel like when it's built correctly, built to go across an ocean, and this wasn't it. So we got right back online, and being in Ventura, we wanted to be able to look at something else while we were there. Again, we drove 10 hours, so
we wanted to make it worth it.
So we
That's
actually
a long drive, 10 hours, yeah.
It is a very long drive. And I had school the next day.
Oh,
so
probably a bit tired when you got there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we were looking at this boat. I was devastated because I was so dead set. Like, this is the boat that I'm going to move on to after we're married. Chris is going to carry me through the companionway, which is the front door. And all of those dreams went out the port light when I stepped on this boat. But luckily, Chris's brother had been home from their sailing journey, and he was helping us look at a boat. But let's take a look at another boat. There's another one across the way. I sailed with a couple who have a very similar boat to this, so I know the build, I know the design. Let's just get an idea. Let's just try it out.
Long story to a short,
Long
story short, we got on the boat. She actually kind of hated it the first few moments, but over time, I kind of told her the things that she didn't like there wasn't a stall shower. I told her basically, well, this is a project boat. If we get into this, this is something that we can really grow with. It's something that we can cross oceans with. It's built to last. So
Chris is good at seeing big pictures. I took it at face value. I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not feeling it. And Chris was like, but hang on, you got to take a step back. Let's look at the things we can change. So he was able to kind of push me in that direction. And then I could see the big picture. And obviously now I love our boat. So
that was it. really only the first day that we went out to look at buying a boat with money in hand, we actually found the boat of our dreams.
We found the one.
And that's not common.
It was love at almost first sight.
Yeah.
And so here we go. That's the Avocet. The name, did it have that name when you got it, or did you name it when you got it?
So she did come with a name. Funny enough, we are the third owners, and I did a lot of research on our boat. And although the first owner has passed away and I can't find any records of him with the boat, from what I can tell, he is the one who named it Avocet. The second owner kept the name Avocet, and then we just continue the tradition, mostly because it's bad luck to rename a boat, and also because we couldn't think of anything better. And Avocet just fit. She had the name, she looked like an Avocet, so we kept it.
Okay, for people who don't know, what is an Avocet?
A lot of people don't know what an avocet is, so don't worry. I didn't either. An avocet is a coastal wetland bird. It frequents North America as well as parts of Europe, I believe, too. So it's a funny-looking bird, really long, curved beak, found in wetlands, coastal areas. Pretty cool.
Right on. Well, on the live stream today, if you're part of the Sailing Avocet flock, like you're a regular on Sailing Avocet, let me know in the chat, and I'll pull up your comment so you can say hi to Chris and Marissa. Amy Slaughter has the first question. She wants to know storage space. How much storage space do you have on that boat?
That's a great question. So like we first said, when we first stepped onto the Catalina, which we thought was our dream boat, it did not have the storage that we needed for all of Chris's camera equipment, all of my things, the tools, my belongings. So Avocet was kind of a dream come true. There's so much storage. We still have lockers that have been untouched. Some of them that we've actually forgot about.
The big difference between the two boats is that one's a displacement hull, meaning that a lot of, like our boat, now, a lot of its weight, a lot of its volume is actually underneath the waterline, and she carries her weight very deep. So there's lockers that go, as far to the hull, and when you pick up the anything behind the settees, which is our couches, if you go behind there, there's plenty of room and there's plenty of storage. In the Catalina, all that room is actually held up. So like when you were to pick up a couch cushion, there's water tanks everywhere. So there's not as much storage as you might think at face value.
Our boat is very cavernous, so we're even able to create new storage spaces. Chris just created a new storage space out of an empty, it was right underneath our steps or staircase, and he made it a little shelf, and now we have extra storage.
Everywhere we can, we're putting cubbies and shelves and things in.
Yeah, when you said there's some lockers you haven't made it in, it makes me wonder if there's any like hidden treasure in your boat. But Emmett asks a question about if there are legit Pirates of the Caribbean and what kind of protection do you have?
Great question. There are still pirates out there. Pirates of the Caribbean, however, I think they are actually dealing with that a lot better. So I haven't heard of any piracy in the Caribbean area as of late. It's mostly in Panama, I believe, at the moment.
So there's definitely piracy out there, not to the scale as it was, especially not in the movies that depicting Pirates of the Caribbean, but there is piracy out there. But the good part about our phones, that kind of era now, is that piracy has been marked on GPS coordinates almost to a pinpoint. So if you were to, we have a thing called navionics. If you were to go in and actually look at an anchorage, other cruisers that have been there will tell you if there's problems, if it's sketchy feeling or anything like that. And I've 100 times out of none, if you ever read about something like a piracy being a hotspot, you just avoid those areas and you'll never have an issue with it.
If you have to travel through it, you travel as a group. So that's one way you can protect yourself. They don't target people who are in a group. So it's not like Pirates of the Caribbean where those pirates were actually mercenaries working for other countries. I'm not going to go into that history lesson. Pirates now are people who are looking to basically raid a boat. They don't even care about the boat itself. They want the electronics on it. They want the metals on it. They just want the things. The stuff. They just want the stuff.
And they want to do that with least conflict as possible. So most times it actually happens when boats are at anchorage and no one's on the boat. It'll get raided when no one's there. So again, just stay out of the hot spots. They're very well marked and very well known.
And travel as a group. Yeah.
It makes me wonder on that map when it shows piracy, is it like a skull and a crossbones or something?
It is a big X. It's like, don't go here.
Right.
Yeah, it's very well known.
I I actually think that, I've said this about like certain cities that you go to, like, downtown Los Angeles, there's Skid Row. Like, Google Maps really needs to put some icon on that to be like, if you're a tourist, just don't go to this place. But
Yeah,
Amanda,
big exclamation point.
exactly. Amanda Smith wants to know, what's your favorite port of call?
That's a great question. Favorite port of call? I would have to say our current port of call, which is Ventura. It's a amazing place. The village right here is within walking distance, so we're able to go get food when we want. We're able to go get boat parts. It's really convenient place. The freeway is right next to us, so
This has definitely been a very easy place to
Yeah.
completely refit a boat. And I actually have a lot of experiences with this up in the San Francisco area. It's not very easy to just go out and get a couple parts from Home Depot and be back in 10 minutes. It's
That's an
hour
all-day
there,
event.
an
Yeah.
hour back, and it's
Sure.
like a total pain. So being here has been a blessing
Yeah.
when it comes to just actually doing a lot of work on not only boat but home or whatever. There's every kind of hardware store you could imagine. There's mom and pop shops right here that I have a whole list of really great people to talk to.
And the boatyard's right next door,
And the
which is
boatyards,
very
yeah.
convenient. So if anything really bad happens, we can haul out in a pinch and get it fixed.
When we actually set off cruising, our ports, I guess, will be more or less fluid. We're not going to be stopping in harbors as much as we will be anchoring off of the coast. So we'll be a lot more vagabond life when we actually take off here pretty soon.
Yeah, vagabond life. I feel like that's that's like also part of like the YouTube cachet travel, like live the digital millennial vagabond. Like you put
Totally.
all those things in a sentence and it's all the buzzwords. Amanda says you guys look like Johnny Depp and Kristen Stewart. There you go.
Thank you.
Very
Well,
good.
thank you.
Chris, another Chris, we have a lot of Chris's on this stream today, asks if you feel at peace having found the boat of your dreams.
At peace. Boats are a funny thing. You're always working on something. Yes, we love our boat so much, and we are at peace that we have a solid, safe home to live aboard. Peace is it's relative. That is a relative term. When we're at an anchorage and we're enjoying the fruits of our labor, yes, I can 100% say we are at peace. But when Chris has his head all the way down in the bilge trying to fix something, I don't know if peace applies there as
Right.
much as humor does. But
Right. Carlos wants to know how you guys take a shower.
yeah, that's a great question. I actually get this question a lot. When you say you live on a boat, people always ask 3 questions, and they're always the same 3 questions, but I won't ask all of them because I'm curious to see if people will do here. Showering is one of them. So we do have a shower on the boat. Originally, it was called
2 showers, actually. But
2
go on.
showers.
2 showers. You
All
are right.
Fancy.
Yeah. Originally, it was called a wet head. So a bathroom on a boat is called a head. And a wet head means that everything inside was meant to get wet and would wash out. So
Including like the toilet, the sink, all that kind of stuff.
and it was
So-
built with materials that were meant to get wet. However, it was stark white, absolutely blinding. Hated
and it's a
it.
pain. Every time you want to
Yeah.
take a shower, your whole entire bathroom gets soaking wet like a dog went in there and
Yeah.
rinsed off.
So that's
Sure.
one of the things when we were looking for a boat, we really wanted a boat with a dedicated stall shower to prevent everything from getting wet. However, we had a compromise. So Chris, this was one of those big picture things where he's like, we can fix this.
So yeah, we went with the again. She's talking about the first time we stepped foot on the boat. It didn't have a stall shower. The bathroom in and of itself kind of looked like an IKEA, not a
Half-
very pretty
half
IKEA
finished.
bathroom, if that makes sense. So everything
Fancy.
was very white
Yeah.
and formica and not very. There was no character. I'll just leave it at that.
The rest of our boat looks like this: beautiful wood, great
Teak
details.
everywhere.
And then you open the bathroom door, and it's just white paneling, and everything looks half finished. So we're like,
So-
"Ooh, we should
So that was-
look into this."
That was one of the first project. Freak out the camera, but anyway, that was the first project we did on the boat. Was completely rip out the entire head, and I tried as much as possible to actually put a stall in. However, due to the confinement of the amount of space we have, we're only talking about maybe 3 feet wide by maybe 5 feet long. So it's a very, very small area. I couldn't actually fit a partition in there. So what we did was put the sink and the head, the toilet on one side, and then we have a shower curtain that we basically button into place. Therefore, when we take a shower, you can kind of section everything off, and it doesn't get wet. It gets a little bit humid in there, but that's just kind of the way it is.
It's fine.
That's how we do that. And then in the cockpit, we actually have a cockpit shower. So if you get in the water and you're all salty, you get inside the boat, rinse yourself off with hot water,
Nice.
and that's to be honest, we actually kind of like that more because it's pretty sweet.
It's nice.
When you mention that small bathroom, it reminds me of like Japanese bathrooms, and OC girl and I go to Japan a lot. The first time I went to Japan and went into like a Japanese hotel bathroom, I'm like, I cannot move my arms more than like this in the shower, and if I stand on
It's
my
not that bad.
tiptoes, I hit the top.
It's not that bad. However, those Japanese bathrooms, they do have soaking tubs, which I
Yes.
tried so hard to convince Chris. I said, we could put a soaking tub on the boat, and he reminded me the goal is to keep the water out of the boat. So I didn't win that
Right.
one, but
That's a good point. That's a good point.
someday maybe.
Yeah, it does better with less water in the boat.
Yeah.
Jake McShane wants to know if you ever get seasick.
If we got seasick, I don't think we would live on a boat. Obviously, there's some conditions where you just don't feel good. You feel nauseous. Just like if you go for a drive, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're going to probably be fine. But it's always that one time where you did something that just offset your equilibrium, so you might get sick. I notice for me personally, if I don't eat anything before we go sailing and it's a little bit swelly out, then I start to feel nauseous. If Chris is working on a project down below deck and has his head deep in the bilge or tucked away in a locker, or he's up at the front of the boat where there's the most movement, he'll probably get a little nauseous.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, I've learned that there's key things that'll trigger our seasickness. So like she's saying, if everything's fine, no problems are happening, we won't get sick, and we don't get sick. But if she gets herself hurt in some way, one time we got kind of pinned between another boat and she actually got her hand in the way. And ever since then, we actually had a pretty rocky sail after that. She got so sick. And for me, I've been head deep inside of an engine bilge with fumes everywhere while we're going 30 degrees at every 12 seconds. That gets to me for sure. But
I'm sure it would get to anyone.
yeah,
I
but
think so.
But sailing days on end and in normal circumstances, we're totally fine.
It would be the same question back to you saying, do you get land sick?
How does that-
Yeah.
If you get land sick, if they live on land, I mean, we live on our boats.
Sure. No, I like it. I mean, I guess sometimes I get sick on land, right?
Exactly. There you go.
Especially if I go like to Magic Mountain and ride like too many roller coasters right after another, then I really get land sick.
Yep.
Vincent wants to know about capacity, freshwater, fuel, and propane.
That's a great
so
question.
we have, I'm just doing the math real quick. I just kind of measured our tanks here the other day. We have 130 gallons of fresh water, and those are freshwater tanks that we fill up before we go anywhere. We also have the option to fill them while we're out sailing with a desalinator. We have a desalinator, a water maker on board.
We have to reinstall it. We're getting there.
Anyways, but so for the most part, we can actually survive at about 130 gallons for near about a month. And that's pretty good because when we're doing dishes, we actually have a saltwater tap. So we do all of our dishes with salt water, and then we rinse them with fresh. And then taking showers, it's not a very, like, even though we have a shower, like you kind of said, it's a little confined. So it's not for me, for a guy that's 6'1", I don't sit in there and just drink up all the hot water. So it's a little bit get your clean on and get out, and that's about it. So we last a good amount of time with the water we have.
Which is also great because it reminds you that water is precious. It is a very precious resource, and we need to
Absolutely
appreciate every drop. So
every time we go back on land and we flush a toilet, I'm always staggered at how much water
goes in there.
Like,
it's amazing.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Brandon wants to know what precautions you've taken to avoid fires, and what's your plan to abandon ship?
So abandon ship is, as of course, the last ditch
resort.
effort, last resort. We hope that we never have to do that, even in a lot of other circumstances that we might be given. We're still going to try to save the boat at all costs because the boat is a lot more sustainable. If we ever to say we'll lose our mast or doing like that, we can survive on the boat a lot easier than a life raft. Life rafts are incredibly, talk about getting seasick. When you're inside of a 6x6 foot life raft that's hot and humid and you're just rolling around with no way to move or no way to steer,
Bad times.
it's not
Bad
good.
times.
So So abandoned ship, I'll address that at first. We will always try to save the boat at all costs, even if
it's our home too.
Even if it's half
Yeah.
afloat and full of water, we'll still try to stay on.
But for precautions, Chris actually did a lot of fire prevention. We just finished rewiring the entire boat. Every single wire that's in there is brand new, which means we took out everything from 1979, which is when our boat was built, and every little additional strange add-on the owners before us did. So Chris got rid of all of the fire hazards and made sure that we have wires, cables up to code.
I'd say that's at least the main way that marine vessels catch on fire is faulty wiring. And the reason is that when these boats were made, there was no certifications. It's not like when a car is being made today where there's a checklist of how everything's done properly with the proper heat shrink and all that stuff. It was basically whoever in the yard felt like they could wire at that point.
Yeah, put these wires together, turn them around, put some electrical tape on it. That's pretty good.
It was bad.
Actually, that's what happened.
There was things that I pulled out of the boat that I was truly astonished that it had not caught fire yet. So having that done is a huge sigh of relief and a huge.
That's where the peace comes from.
Yeah, that's where that
peace. That's a big peace of mind right there, knowing that that's done and we don't have to worry about it.
Crystal wants to know, what do you do about internet coverage? Do you have issues with internet coverage?
Yeah, that's an appropriate question for this live stream. When we're in a port like the one we're in now, they have free Wi-Fi, which is great because we're able to check emails, upload videos, which is crucial for Chris since he's a cinematographer. He needs to be able to upload videos for his clients. I need to be able to email with my clients for marketing. And when we're not in port, we use cell data. We heavily rely on our mobile hotspots, which work 90% of the time, but occasionally we get into those areas where there's no cell reception at all, and we just have to brace for that and remind our clients, hey, we're going to be out of reach for a day or so.
So yeah, anytime that we're at anchor near land, our phones 99% of the time will work. The times that we're going sailing, we're off the coast quite a bit, either we're going on a long venture or not, we will most likely probably get a satellite phone that we can receive texts on. You're not going to be streaming the web or doing anything like that.
No Netflix.
And when we're moving on the boat, when we're actually sailing, it's not really something that we want to be doing, is being on our phones. It's in our minds kind of the point of sailing is that we get to detach from reality. So that's I guess that.
Yeah. But is that really the digital nomad life then? Because isn't the digital nomad life you have to be on Instagram every maybe is it 2 minutes that you have to check it, or do you?
That's a me thing.
Yeah, all right.
Chris hates social media. He doesn't like it. I actually have to manage his social media for him because he just won't do it, which is fine. That's okay. Recently, I've gotten really overwhelmed. I have amazing clients and I love them, but with COVID and then with the recent fires here in California, I was swamped with correspondence and everything. So I needed a break from everything. I needed to throw my phone as far away from me as possible without it getting wet.
Yes, right, good.
Destroyed forever.
Right.
But we went out to Santa Cruz Island, which is the closest to us here in Ventura. It's the largest of the 8 channel islands off the Southern California coast. So we went out there, there's no cell service, and I got to just relax for the first time in about a year. So
I highly recommend anybody, everybody's in the same boat this year with COVID-19. So I highly recommend if you can go somewhere where you don't have service.
And you can be away from people.
You don't get that text notification saying that something else bad is happening. It's a very nice thing to have happen for at least a few amount of days.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's one of the things I actually like about flying on airplanes. Maybe people think I'm crazy when, I might say, I like flying on long flights, because the long flight, if it's a 10-hour flight, it's 10 hours without internet, and you can sit there and watch movies and not really feel bad about it. Like, there's anything else I'm going to do, right? Nobody's going to call me. Nobody's going to
That's where I get some of my best inspiration, is from those times where I'm not being constantly inspired by other content, and I come up with my own, to be free.
For sure. Now you're a little bit, but you're still doing good. Never Without Kai Feet wants to know: are you on the boat all year?
Yes.
Yeah. So we live full time on board, projects and all. Even though sometimes we're sleeping on top of tools, and some even in the cold weather, the hot weather,
She's our home.
We have everything we need to stay on board, and yeah, we live on her.
We don't have a plan B. Plan B would be moving back in with our parents, and that's not a plan. That is abandoning ship.
Yeah. Wu Taiwan wants to know, do you ever use rain tanks?
Rain tank. I believe you're referring to just like maybe some jerry cans on board that you can collect rainwater in. I'm assuming we do have jerry cans that we can hold water in, but the beauty about our boat is that we have big, huge freshwater tanks built into the boat. So we are actually kind of installing right now freshwater spigots into all of our canvas, so that way when it does rain, the whole boat kind of acts as a rain catch, and then those hoses go directly into our water tanks on
And
board.
then we have filters after that. We have a whole water filtration.
And before that too.
Yeah.
There's filters on filters on filters. For
It's
sure.
very clean water.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty fancy.
Yeah.
Emmett wants to know about medical emergencies. If you have a medical emergency, how do you get help?
That's a great question. So we've actually talked about this extensively, especially since our original plan was to sail from California to Hawaii and then up to Alaska. It takes about 13 days to get from Hawaii to Alaska. So during those 13 days, you're away from mainland. If anything goes wrong, it could be bad.
Yeah, so you have options while you're out at sea. The jaunt she's talking about, specifically from California to Hawaii, is especially when you're in the middle, you're near the doldrums is what it's called. You are the furthest away from land that you can be on the entire planet Earth. So when you're out at that point, no one will be able to help you. There's no helicopters that can reach you without losing gas by the time they get to you, and there's no way they can get out. So unless you flag down a cruising ship or a sailing boat or whoever else that might be on that path with you, that's about your best shot as if something really, really bad happened to your boat and you had to abandon ship. There's many different options when it comes to coastal cruising. We carry an EPIRB on board. We have an MMSI call sign, which is basically our VHF radio. You can hit that and say we're in distress, and the Coast Guard gets alerted immediately. There's a lot of different ways that we can get the Coast Guard's attention, and yes, the Coast Guard is our best bet at redemption.
Also, we would have to act as first responders for each other, and that's why before we go on these bigger adventures, I want to make sure that we both have the proper wilderness, because the closest thing you can get is the wilderness first aid courses through Red Cross or something of the similar. Unfortunately, they don't have any like offshore first aid classes. They have things that kind of touch upon that, but nothing that's really relevant enough for us. I have first aid courses through Red Cross done, but I need to refresh that and make sure that we are sharp. So if anything did happen, we'd be able to take care of us, as well as take some first aid veterinary courses for our cat Cleo, since she's a crew member as well.
Very cool. Bill Wu says, monthly cost, food costs, ?
That's a good question. So monthly cost, currently our only monthly cost has to do with our slip fees here in the marina, as well as any project costs from what Chris is doing. Luckily, the project costs are all pretty much...
They're coming from a mountainous high where they've been for the last year and a half to a very gradual decline. So
you've been putting a lot of work into the boat, right?
Yeah,
that's why it's been mountainous high.
Yes.
The last 2 years we've owned the boat, we've completely refitted it inside and out. So we spent a good amount of money. We bought the boat as a project boat, and when you do that, you have to either put a lot of money in to hire someone else to fix it for you, or you're going to put a lot of time mostly and also the money behind it to fix it yourself. So we've done that, and we are just now getting to a point where the boat is safe enough to take off cruising. So the big expenditures of hauling out and doing some paint on the bottom, doing all of our solar upgrading. We have a big battery bank now, lithium power. There's a lot of big ticket items that we've kind of checked off the list. It's
all an investment, which is great. So the monthly cost, like I said, it varies. Right now, our only true monthly cost without the variables of projects is the slip fee. And
slip fees range in California from about 600 to about 1,000 just for a slip fee, and then when you live on board,
for a boat our size, which is 41 feet. So for a boat our size, that's what it varies. But food costs, I mean, we probably average $200 a trip. We try to shop at farmers markets and things like that, but sometimes it can be pricey.
And we go shopping about every month for food. So when we take off cruising, we're hoping to get our monthly costs down to about $500, maybe to anywhere from the $500 to $1,000 range a month. That'll be our budget per month, and that means that we can stay out for
which is
years
actually
at a time.
very obtainable. Most people might think that's a little crazy, but there's other cruisers who live on a $100 a month budget.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people
That's
who
impressive.
live. Yeah, they live very bare bones. Chris and I like to have fun. We like to go out and eat and things like that once in a while. So we budgeted a little bit more towards that. We want to experience the places that we visit.
And definitely the whole point of having the boat is that, in my opinion, is to not stay in a marina every night. The whole beauty of boating is that it's one of those things that is untouched from the cruel grasp of democracy, that you can anchor most of anywhere on the coast for free. So we can go out and anchor from here all the way down to Mexico for next to nothing.
So the 41-foot boat. So this is the boat, obviously out of water. I assume this is not what the boat looks like right now. And
now she has some new hardware on. So that was when we just finished our entire 2-month-long boatyard stay, where we repainted the top and bottom, did a full osmosis treatment, made a seamless deck to hull joint.
We
changed
the prop shaft, did a new prop, pulled out the rudder, did a lot of work on that, completely serviced the steering quadrant. There's a lot of work that went into 2 months, and to cap it all off, it was right in the middle of COVID-19.
It was at the beginning of COVID. It
was right when everything got shut down. So
the height of
we
it.
actually had a really hard time getting our materials. Even just when you're working with fiberglass and epoxy all day, one of those big things you want is a mask and nitrile gloves. And those were two things that became very you couldn't get those at that point.
It was like coveted items.
Yeah.
So we found one store, I think you went to Home Depot, and they were hiding on the top shelf. So Chris climbed the shelf, grabbed 2 boxes, and a guy came around the corner. He's like, "Are you using both of those?" He's like, "No, here's a box."
You didn't see anything.
Yeah, like, you didn't see that, did you? So we got the gloves, and
And you guys mentioned Cleo. I think this is a picture of Cleo here.
Yes. That is our Cleocatra.
Yeah, she's been with us for a long time now, and she got used to the cruising and sailing life very well.
Yeah, she was actually supposed to be a goldfish. We adopted her when we still lived in Tahoe. I had a coupon for a goldfish, so we went down to go get a goldfish, and I saw a cat, and I was like, "Oh, Chris, look at this cat." And he's like, we're getting this cat. I'm like, "We can't. We live in an apartment, which doesn't allow pets." And he said, "Nope, we're taking her home." So we took Cleo home, and she's been the best thing. She's just easy. She travels in the car easy. She travels on the boat easy, has no desire to leave the boat. So even when we're in port, she doesn't jump off and wander, which is everything you want in a cat. You don't want her to leave and go venturing in the night.
It's funny that you had a coupon for goldfish, and instead you got an animal that maybe eats goldfish, right?
I never got the goldfish either.
Right. Bill Wu comments on the slip fees, saying that's like another runt, which I assume is why Chris and Marissa don't have another rent, and they live full time on the boat. Otherwise, it gets really expensive.
Yeah, no, and that it gets expensive quick, and especially that isn't the $600 to $1,000 doesn't even include what's called a live aboard permit, and you have to have that in order to live aboard on your boat
in marinas.
Yeah. So it's another added addition on top of doing that.
Luckily, utilities are usually included, and your utility usage is a lot less on a boat. So it's all a trade-off.
It's all more of a push to get out.
How much is the live aboard permit on top of that? How much is the live aboard permit?
It depends. It varies per port. So each port district has say in how many marinas or how many live aboards they permit per marina. So this marina we're in has 500 tenants, regular tenants, and then 10% of those are live aboards. So that's also another coveted item. People want to be live aboards, so that's why they pay the extra fee. Also, it helps go towards the environmental impact as well as their daily.
What is that roughly? Is that twice as much as your rent? Is it a third of the rent?
We're talking about $200 to $300 for 2 people to be there every month. And
that's pretty standard throughout California.
Sometimes cats and dogs if they're even allowed, you sometimes have to pay an extra addition for them as well.
Just like an apartment.
Yeah. There's a question from Kathy, but before I do that, everybody always asks me what I'm drinking because it's always a theme about what I'm drinking today. Today I'm drinking some.
It does look good.
It's Thai iced tea from a place that has that in the name, Thai Cha, though. And what they say on the cup here, they say originality of tea. There we go.
Ooh,
So
that looks good.
that's what
I'm jealous. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get ours. Did you send it on
Oh,
time?
I'm sorry.
Should it be arriving
I'll
soon?
make sure. I'll make sure for our next one. It'll come right to you.
Perfect.
Kathy wants to know if you can have guests on the boat. Is there more than one bed?
Yes. So a great thing about our boat is we can sleep comfortably 6 people.
Yeah, so we have 2, not including our bed, we have 2 other full staterooms.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have 2 staterooms and 3 beds in total. So we have our main stateroom in the aft part of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
On the opposite side of the stairs that you come down, there's a equally sized bed. It just doesn't have a actual room enclosing
There's
it.
no door, but it's a bed.
Up in the very forward part of the boat called the V berth, there's also another berth up there with a door, and also every kind of sitting arrangement in a boat
Doubles as a sleeping
they
arrangement.
double as a sleeping arrangement. And when you're actually sailing, it's a lot of times more comfortable to be in a small berth like a couch or a settee with what's called a lee cloth, which is what you can snap up. It's
It's like a hammock. It holds you in. So if you're rolling or something, you don't roll off onto the floor. We've actually had our boat says that it can comfortably sleep up to 8 people, and we've had 7, right?
We've had 6 or 7. 6 people is comfortable. I'd say like 2 other couples we can handle pretty well. It gets a little bit tight when there's more than that on board.
Yeah.
But
we've had Chris's whole family come to visit, and then we've had my family, my parents, and my brother come to visit. And it also has to do with how much stuff someone brings on board. So we always remind people, keep it in a suitcase and make sure it can be packed away neatly and tucked somewhere out of the way.
Yeah, that's I guess another Japanese hotel room comparison. You know, the first time OC Girl and I went to Osaka, Japan, we stayed in this hotel that there was no place to put your suitcase, like literally no place to put your suitcase. The bed was raised up on feet so that you could put your suitcase under the bed. To open it, you'd have to open it on the bed and then close it and then slide it underneath.
sounds a little bit exactly like a boat.
We should look into these hotels and get some inspiration.
That's right, you should. Masters of space. Emmett says, what's the biggest part of living on land that you miss, and what's the best part of living on sea?
Ooh, I got it. I got this one. All right, so people ask me this a lot. I actually don't miss living on land. I love living on our boat. I love everything that comes with it. However, I do miss my bathtub. As mentioned prior, I really wanted a bathtub. That didn't make the cut. But jumping into really warm waters in Mexico can kind of make up for not having a bathtub.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest part that you miss. What's the best part of living on sea?
You want to take this one?
Jeez. I'd say the freedom that it allows you. There's, like I kind of mentioned earlier, there's nothing else. There's no other way, in my opinion, or that I know of, to actually travel. Either it be an RV or to go on a plane and go somewhere. You're paying every stop you make. So if it's in an RV, although if you're stopping on the road, that's great. But usually it's going to an RV park and you got to pay some money there. Mm-hmm. If you're going in a plane, you got to get a hotel room or do something like that. No matter what, you're sort of bound by this needing to pay for every stop that you're at. The boat is the perfect way, in my opinion, to travel to foreign destinations, whether it be Mexico, whether it be wherever, and you can just drop your anchor on the shore and
not on the shore.
Whatever. Drop your anchor in an anchorage. You might have some fees when it comes to actually going into different countries, but there's a really great freedom that you can get from that, and it's unmatched.
Building off of that, the freedom that you get from being able to travel place to place using nothing but the elements, the water and the wind pushing you along, it's very, very freeing and helps connect you to the earth. I know that sounds very hippie, but it's true. When you're out there and there's nothing, there's no cell service, it's just you and the elements, it's powerful, especially when dolphins decide to come swim next to you.
And you're very on your own when it comes to even just power too. So all the power that we generate is solar and or through our engine that we have on board. So we can really kind of be out on our own and do our own thing off the grid and not be attached in any way, which I totally dig.
It's really good for when the zombies attack. I don't know if you guys are Walking Dead fans, but yeah.
I've said this multiple times. We are
Right.
ready. Especially, have you seen the movie Waterworld?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I'm preparing for Waterworld. I have my tomato plant on the boat. We're
Good.
ready.
Good.
I'm hyped.
Even when COVID first hit, we were in the boatyard, but we were just both just like,
That was
God,
the
let's
worst.
get the boat in the water. We can just leave.
That was
Right.
the worst.
Here for this.
Having that freeing, that token of freedom, the boat itself, but not being in the water.
Shackled
It's
by
on
the
land.
ground.
Oh, right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Poor planning.
Right. What was something you expected about the sailboat life that maybe isn't really that way 3 years into living on a sailboat?
I think for me, it's definitely everyone who owns a boat and does the work themselves will tell you how much work it is. And me growing up with boats, me knowing this probably better than most people, I did think that it was going to be less work when it comes to just every single day maintenance. There's no way that you can just put something off when you're on the boat. If you're out at the anchor and your fridge stops working, well, that's your numero uno priority.
Yeah.
You have to get that fixed in order to have food, and that's just one example. There's countless of systems on a boat. I mean, there's everything when it comes to living on board. So you have your fridges, you have hot water, you have running water, you have
Everything's connected, and preventative maintenance will become critical, necessary maintenance if you don't take care of it. And you don't want that to happen because you could be in a spot where you can't get the materials needed to fix it. Luckily, we do carry a lot of spares and tools aboard, so we probably could fix it. But again, you don't want that.
And it's not really necessarily a bad thing. It of course can be very frustrating at times, but in the overall scheme of it, it's not a bad thing. It's just something that I feel like anybody else that's out there that thinks that boating or at least cruising is for them, just know that
or that's easy.
Yeah, that it's not an easy task.
No.
It's definitely it's a lot of work, and of course the benefits of it are awesome, and that's why we do it. But there's no lying in the fact that you're going to be definitely busy. I'll just keep it at that.
You're going to be busy, or you're going to be paying a lot of money for someone else to be busy for you. So either or.
Yeah, the best things in life are never free, right? They cost you something.
Exactly.
Wu Tai, One Nostalgia, wants to know, what is the furthest you have gone in this vessel?
So on Avocet. So Avocet, we've only had her for a very short time, 3 years. And one of those years, you have to remember, we were doing a complete refit. We've just started sailing after 1 year of not sailing her and doing just projects. So we've sailed all around the Channel Islands area here in Southern California, and we're preparing to take her up the coast. And we're really excited for that. However, we also have a lot of experience sailing on other boats. Like the boat we're actually live streaming from now is Chris's mom's boat. We just moved it down from San Francisco, which is how many nautical miles would you say?
It was about 300 and something miles. I forget now, but we just brought this down the coast from Berkeley all the way down to here in Ventura. I've taken.
She's our neighbor now.
Yeah, we're neighbors. We've taken a lot of trips. Like I said, my brother is a cruiser. He lives on a 33-foot sailboat, and we've taken a couple trips now. Last time we did was down in Costa Rica.
That's actually when Chris asked me to marry him, was when we were visiting his brother in Costa Rica. So we have a lot of sailing experience sailing other boats, but Avocet is still relatively new to us. But we're very excited to take her all over.
Plans.
We have big plans for her.
Yeah. So the boat life definitely sounds like it's in Chris's family's blood. Marissa,
Yes.
is boat life in your family's blood, or are you a bunch of land lovers?
Fishing boats, yes.
Yeah.
They like fishing. Boating is kind of just the vessel to get to the fishing locations.
Yeah.
So sailing is not in my family's blood at all. My great-grandfather used to be a sailor, but it kind of ended right there. So.
Yeah, about as much like boating as OC Girl and I get into is on like kayaks. We'll do the tandem kayak, or if you've seen like the swan boats that are like a swan that you can go in and you can like pedal around. Those
the
are
paddle boats. Yeah, we have a few
right.
of those here at the harbor. They go around every weekend.
Those are awesome. Jake wants to know if you plan on having children, and if so, would you live on the boat with a child?
There's actually a lot of.
Okay, we're back.
Are we back?
Keep going.
There we are. Okay. So, we do plan to have kids someday. Not anytime soon. We are still very young. We're 22 and 23, so we have a lot of exploring
Plenty
to
of
do
time.
before
Plenty
we
of time.
decide to have kids. Yeah,
so
plenty of time.
We do plan on having. I don't know about kids, but necessarily right now we do plan on having a kid.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in the not near future, but within maybe the next 5 to 6 years. And in that time, we do hope to be out sailing. And there's no part of us that doesn't think that the boat will accept one child. Well.
So it's a one kid boat. It can accept one cat. It can accept one child. So
Nice.
There are a lot of sailing families out there who do sail full time on boats that are either bigger than ours or smaller than ours. Kids, for those of you who have kids, I'm sure you know that it doesn't take a lot to keep them happy as long as you have love and the necessary things for nourishment. And boat life is great because they have experiences that they wouldn't normally get on land. So we've already talked about this. We don't know if we would even go forward with traditional schooling, just from my past experience, especially with California schools. But boat schooling is a thing. Very cool. Very behind that. Life schooling as well. So yeah, that's way in the future though.
Yeah. California schools, people always ask me, I'll do Travel Channel. People be like, Chris, do you know where this country is? This and that. If I ever get it wrong, I just say like, look, I went to high school in California. That's where I took geography.
You get it.
So,
you understand. Yeah.
Right. I sure do. I Exiled wants to know, what do you do for making money?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I do digital marketing. I have my own business called Fairwinds Media. I do digital marketing and social media management. So I built my business right out of college and I built up my client base so I'm able to offer them consulting as well as marketing and social media support. And Chris?
Yeah, I've been a cinematographer now for the last 5 years professionally. I actually grew up in the photography world. My dad was a wedding and portrait photographer for over 35 years. So I grew up with it. My brother was also into videography. My sister took over my dad's business. So all three of us kids are in the visual arts. And yeah, so we've done a lot of videos together. That's kind of why we made our sailing channel, is that we wanted to be able to show our family what we're doing. And me being a videographer, I had the tools, I had everything there. There was no reason for us not to.
And it's a good creative outlet for Chris too. He gets frustrated with work sometimes, just like anybody who works gets frustrated sometimes. So being able to have his own outlet to try some new techniques and stuff is great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you and I have a little bit of that family background too. Not the boating side, but my dad was also a wedding videographer, and so that's how I got my start in video.
That's actually how we met.
Oh, right on.
We were both helping our dads shoot a wedding. So,
right on.
Yeah, we were kids. We were 9 and 10.
Kids.
Something like that, yeah.
So, Marissa, is your dad in wedding videos or photography then too?
Nope. He does it as a hobby.
It was a funny story.
I'll
give you the very rundown.
The short version.
Her dad called my dad. We didn't know each other at all really at this point. And he had accepted a wedding to do for a friend, but it kind of turned out to be more of a full-fledged, like, you're the photographer for a large wedding.
My dad had thought that it was just our friend asking for some casual photos at his wedding. We arrived to the wedding and our friend's like, no, you are the photographer. And my dad, who only does surf photography, dog photography, and just things for fun,
it's more of a hobby.
Right.
Oh no, this is not good.
So he called my dad and was basically like, please come help me, like, I need your help, blah 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 blah. And I remember just in the car coming, to that wedding that day, my dad and I were talking a little bit of crap on this family. Like, can't believe he accepted this wedding and isn't, like, ready for it, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. But it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. I ended up with you. It's fine.
My rule for friends and family for, like, wedding videos, it's particularly if it's more of a service and not paid, is I'll run the camera. I just won't edit it, because editing is where you, like, spiral down into that, Can you make it do this? Can you do that? Can you get this music? Oh, it never ends.
Sorry, buddy.
That's right. No means no. Wants to know, what do your families and friends think about your amazing life at sea?
Yeah, so Chris's family's all for it. I mean, they're already well conditioned to it since Chris's brother decided to live this lifestyle almost a decade ago.
He's been cruising for about 10 years now.
Yeah, so they were already well primed. So when we decided we wanted to do it, they're like, okay, cool, good for you. My family was also very supportive of it because they know Chris's family really well. My immediate family, I should say. However, my aunts and uncles, they were very inquisitive and still a little uneasy with the thought of us going sailing to new countries and things like that. But I have to explain to them that we have faith in our boat, we have faith in our abilities, and the world is not as scary of a place as the media leads us to believe, as you know from your travels too.
For sure. There are not zombies on every corner. But
Yeah.
speaking of
I'm ready for them.
Yeah, good. That's good. Speaking of danger, Never Without Kai Feet wants to know, is it dangerous some days? Or maybe you can share what the most like dangerous experience you've had.
Oh,
Yeah, so we've
that's fun.
had a couple instances. One, we got caught in a full force gale out of the islands.
Explain what a gale is.
So a gale, there's different amounts of wind when it comes to saying something is a gale. We were out at Santa Cruz Island, and it was projected
with my family for their first sailing trip.
first
might
time
I
ever
add?
sailing, and they weren't necessarily like completely on board with the whole idea. But anyways, we wanted to go out and show them a good time, and it was projected to be about 35 knots, and 30 knots are very relative to miles per hour. It's just what the nautical people say. Anyway, so it was projected to be about 35 knots, which is a good amount of wind, and
But we could handle it.
we can handle it, and we're all ready. Anyways, it kind of went on from 35 to 40 to 45 to 50 to 55, and it
topped
peaked
it.
at about 57
Yeah.
miles per hour knots. And that is a lot of wind when you are at anchor.
That is
It's a
force 8 wind, I believe.
it's a lot of wind when you're even trying to sail. So there's different ways that you can deal with a lot of wind. I'd say wind is the reason that things get dangerous out at sea. It's the reason that swells get large. It's the reason that hardware breaks. It's very hard on a boat. So you just got to keep an eye on if you're either going to be out at sea when something gets nasty like that. You have to be very well prepared for it. If you're not, you're going to get caught in a bad situation.
Also, you have to remember with all of these movies that have come out recently, like The Perfect Storm, that's not recently, but sailing movies where there's always disaster.
There's Adrift, and there's a couple other sailing
danger
movies that
sells.
just came
Danger
out.
sells. So some things are over exaggerated. However, it doesn't take away from the actual risk that's out there. And now in modern times, we do have a lot of technology that can help us take preventative measures if we do ever see a storm on the horizon.
Even old school methods. We have
Yeah.
a barometer on board that shows you the pressure in the atmosphere. So if you see it to start to drop, you can kind of get ready for something that's going to be pretty windy.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good that you made it through. Kim Jong-un has joined the chat. One of my favorite
Welcome.
people when he joins the live chat because he's got the great
Come a long
picture
way.
too. What tips do you have for others that are considering the sailboat life? And as you do that, I'm going to disappear from camera for 2 minutes. So answer that question in at least 2 minutes,
Okay.
and I'll be right back while you answer that.
For 2 minutes, we got this. Okay, so for people who want to join the sailboat life, my biggest piece of advice that was given to me by my sister-in-law was, are you looking for a crash pad or are you looking for a home? That definitely will help you when you're looking for the boat you want. So if you want a crash pad, that would basically fall in line with that Catalina 36 we were looking at. It could be a home, but it wasn't the same standard as what we were looking for and what we were used to.
And also, it's not really even, you can even put boat manufacturing to the side. It's really how the boat's been taken care of for the last 25 to 30 years. These boats are pretty old that we're looking at least. So it all depends on when you're buying a boat or when you want to even look at going into the cruising lifestyle, you got to really define what your goals are.
Yeah.
If your goals are going across an ocean, if you want to go up to the Bering Sea, you want to do some really gnarly
Boat design is key.
you want to do some very big
Yeah.
scale ocean passages. You need to have not only a boat that you can trust, but you need to have a crew that you can really depend on. And there's just a lot of time and there's a lot of resources and there's a lot of time and thought that you have to put behind something like that in order for it to be a good passage.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into a circumstance like that and be unprepared. A good sailor has redundancies on redundancies on redundancies. So
Plan A, B, C, D, and extra parts to build a whole other boat. So.
and again, going back to like what your goals are, if your goals are only to be going out to like right here, we're in Ventura. If your plans are just going out to Catalina and back, you don't need a boat that can cross an ocean. You don't need a boat that can do some really intense voyaging. That's where a Catalina 36 or Hunter or something like that is well suited. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And it's not to say that people don't do bigger passages with these boats. Plenty do, but preferably for our comfort, I don't think I would consider doing it on that boat. And one last thing is my piece of advice to anybody who's looking into getting a boat either for just pastime fun or a boat for something serious and living aboard. Get on as many boats as you can. Feel the different boats. Every boat has a different weight to it, has a different flow to the inside. One of the reasons I didn't like our boat at first, but you have to figure out what suits your needs and what will fit your lifestyle.
That's part of the fun is that all these boats are made so much differently. Every single one that you're going to get on is going to be different, and one will feel great and one won't.
It's like,
just like a
it's
car.
like Goldilocks, find the bed that fits.
Cool. You did great with the 2 minutes. One of the joys of being a dad is sometimes kids need some help, and you need to go help them. All right. Well, do you know what time it is?
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
It's time for the giveaway. I always give away a Yellow Productions crew shirt on these live streams with that logo that you can't see because I'm in the split view. But it's to someone who answers one of my questions correctly. I'll ship it to you anywhere in the world. My question is, what year was the Avocet built? If you can answer the year that their boat was built, then you'll get a Yellow Productions crew shirt. While you all are answering that, Chris and Marissa, please tell people how they can find you if they want to tune into you and what they will find when they get there.
Yeah, you can find us almost on every social media platform. Usually if you just look up Sailing Avocet on Instagram, we are SV Avocet. If you do find our page and come across us, say hello. You will find lots of videos of life afloat, as well as DIY projects, and the occasional Clio picture here and there.
Right on. And if you don't remember it to type it in, well, if you just open up the description, you'll find a link to their channel there too. Awesome. So Emmett says 1979. Nailed it, Emmett.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Someone paid attention.
All right, winner, chicken dinner, Emmett. So let me know where you want the shirt to go and what size you want. You can send me an email at chris@yellow.net with 2 W's, or you can message me on Facebook. You'll find my Facebook page in the description as well. A lot of people also put in 1979, but Emmett was the first one, so well done, Emmett. Well, Chris and Marissa, I really want to thank you both for being on the live stream today, and I wish you well in your sailing journeys. Do you have any parting words here for the live stream?
Life is short. Make it the most fun you can. Try something new every day. I don't know. You have anything?
Very insightful.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just hope everyone's doing all right. We're going to get through this year all right.
Very
Go
good.
sailing.
Go sailing.
That is good. And as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'll see you all in the next video. This Friday, it's going to be all about Laguna Beach, an ultimate guide to Laguna Beach, one of my favorite beach cities. Live stream next weekend, same time, same channel, 4:45 p.m. Tuesday. Josh from California Through My Lens is going to be my guest. We'll be talking about some of the best things to do and see in California. Well, as usual, I won't say goodbye. Basically, I'm going to see you all in the next video, and maybe Chris and Marissa will see you over there on Sailing Avocet.
Bye.
See ya.